Because you clicked on this video, you already know about Donald Trump and want to understand why he acts the way he does. Many videos use Trump as a crutch, but the intention of this video is to explore his early psychological influences and how this manifests to others, especially women. One such woman, Donald's niece, is a clinical psychologist who offered intel on his private life. Because I am not yet a professional therapist, this is an informal attempt to contextualize Donald's upbringing. Combining his niece's intel with psychoanalytical terminology will be used to unveil the source of his behavior. What had the most significant influence on Donald's behavior was the dichotomy with his parents. Trump's mother, Mary, was born in Scotland and immigrated to North America, where she met her later husband, Fred. Mary was a maid before marrying Fred, a wealthy real estate developer who provided his children, including Donald, with a life of luxury. After Mary gave birth to her last child after Donald, she became withdrawn from others due to her strained health, which, inadvertently, distanced her from Donald too. This absence made Donald grow closer to his father, who instilled in him a work-oriented mindset and made him prioritize becoming tough, competitive, and above all else, victorious. After his mom's health improved, Donald did reconnect with her, but her values, unconditional love and empathy, were not as provocative as Fred's values. Fred was preoccupied with victory. Fred's love was also conditional. He would only admire Donald if he preserved and grew the Trump monopoly, the family legacy. This influence is likely the catalyst for Trump's behavior later in life, as attaining this victory meant everything to Donald. These events are the basis from which Donald's behavior stems from. To understand how this influenced Trump requires using terminology outlined by Sigmund Freud. As a refresher for returning viewers, or an introduction for new viewers, Sigmund Freud outlined the topographical model of the mind, which represents three distinct components: the conscious, preconscious, and the unconscious. In this last part, the unconscious retains unknown emotions and desires. These are often here because if they are made known, this causes great distress. One may choose to forget what they are, but the unconscious does not. The unconscious elements of a person can still influence them, presenting through what Freud called unresolved unconscious desires. These often arise from unmet childhood needs, given they hide from one's awareness. This is often averted from learned defense mechanisms that prevent self-improvement well into adulthood. Applying these unconscious principles to Donald, his unresolved unconscious desire stems from his unresolved relationship with his mum, which, according to his niece, he interpreted her absence as being neglectful. Donald potentially feeling neglected may have led to his violent outbursts, where he hurt his schoolmates and teachers. When Trump then hurt his siblings, this is when his father sent him to military school. This behavior exemplifies a maladaptive defense mechanism called displacement. Displacement is where one transfers their frustrations onto others through abrasive actions, like yelling or hurting others. Because Donald was inadvertently distanced from his mother, he did not have the chance to acknowledge his unresolved feelings, and instead adopted rationalization, another maladaptive defense mechanism. Donald rationalized military school as preparation for his future business ventures. This rationalization could have reinforced his father's conditioning. Donald's desire for victory morphed into a pathological driver. Trump's displacement was rationalized so he could model himself based on his father's competitive values. This was only reinforced by his military education. How Donald interacts with women because of this influence is another avenue for transferring this behavior. Trump's preoccupation with his work may have led to him to rationalize his mistreatment of women. Trump's internal world that his father instilled can be understood as a lens through which he treats women to attain power, dominance, and victory. This behavior pattern causing him to use women can be described through object relations theory, a concept developed by the psychoanalysts Melanie Klein and Donald Winnicott. Object relations theory posits that early relationships with caregivers shape our understanding of ourselves and others. As children have not developed advanced abstract thinking, they understand the world by what can be physically touched. These influences frame how they understand, how they relate to objects. Object relations are prevalent during childhood, but their effect is still prevalent throughout life. Object relations theory explains how Trump's early experiences led to his relationships with women. He objectifies them. Because Donald's mum was absent and his father was a hyper-competitive figure, Donald perceived what men and women ought to be from this. Because of his dad, Donald believes men should be hyper-competitive. Because of his mum, Donald believes women are absent, and because of this, also intend to neglect him. Donald likely believes on an unconscious level that women dislike him by default because of how he feels about his mum. His need for sex, to touch women, to dominate and control relationships, may be viewed as an attempt to win what he perceived as one of the only things he never won. Donald likely believes he needs to win an internal battle against his mum. Freud's Oedipal complex notes a child's unconscious desire for the parent of the opposite sex. Donald sexually abuses women to get back at his mum. Donald often resorts to denial regarding his behavior towards women. Donald claims he loves women and his mum despite what he does and says publicly. There are his comments on talk shows, his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein, interactions with women backstage at beauty pageants he finances, his appointment of Supreme Court members outlawing abortion, his cases of sexual assault, and his affairs during marriages. Most women he likens to are also blonde, like his mum. Donald also dyes his hair like his mum. These factors suggest an unconscious pathology translated into how he approaches everything in his life. Donald's choice not to acknowledge his turmoil during his early years is the basis for his general behavior. Trump's behavior also reflects broader societal issues of gender bias and patriarchal values. His actions indicate a culture that allows men to dominate women without consequence. Trump's behavior and its minimal repercussions have fostered a culture where his inner conflict is projected onto women. All of this was instigated because of his difficulty in reflecting on his experiences. Many other videos talk in depth about Trump's other pathological behaviors and psychological ailments, but everything described prior is where it all started. There have been many other psychologists who have also speculated about his condition, but nothing objective can be said outside of the intel they, and Donald's niece, have provided. What can be said to conclude all this relates to geometry. When drawn out, a 0 degree and a 1 degree line appears the same initially, but the distance grows significantly if left unchanged. The events with Donald's parents were the butterfly effect on his future behavior. If he resolved his feelings, who knows how different he would be. As Donald's mother cannot be blamed for her withdrawal after giving birth, Donald needs to resolve his feelings if he wants to become a more well-adjusted leader. Currently, as of the making of this video, Trump is facing against Kamala Harris for the 2024 election. If Donald does win, he should seek psychological treatment so that helping himself can make us feel safer. If he does not win, if he is not victorious, he can do so privately when he has no power. Let's see what happens. This was the Donald Trump Psychoanalysis. This was an Orange Chair Written Work number 12.